righty. We're up. Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody.
Happy Saturday. It looks like Mark's here already. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Mark.
Mark, we're glad
to see you.
Yeah, we're glad. And you made it home safely from your trip, so that's good.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, hopefully you had a nice trip and there were no surprises and it was just a nice time.
Yeah, I know. That sounds like a really cool trip.
So, yeah.
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning,
Kevin.
BK.
Morning, BK. Morning, Kevin.
And yeah,
awesome.
We're so excited to be here, you guys. Yay! We're talking about raised beds today.
Yeah.
Because we've heard a lot about them. A lot of people seem really excited about adding more raised beds or new ones.
I think we had a poll come out. Was it this week or was it a little bit earlier? And there was quite a few people in that poll that say, yep, they're adding new beds, and this is going to be really fun because you get to add that new space to your garden. It's just amazing anyway. But a raised bed, and we're going to go over all the different benefits that we know of and that we like to talk about.
Probably way more.
And if you have any benefits of I need more coffee. If you have any benefits that we don't cover here today that you can think of for raised beds, definitely talk about it in the chat. Say hi to us in the chat, by the way, and let us know where you're from and what's going on today in your garden.
I know. I'm excited to hear from you guys. We've got Gwendolyn is here. She said, or Gwendolyn said, good morning. So happy to be here today.
Yay.
We're happy you're here too.
Yeah.
And Budget Gardening Vita Loca said good morning.
Morning.
Mark mentioned, let's see, it was fun the first time back in Europe since before the pandemic.
Oh, wow. So it's been a while.
Took 3 days to get back or to get on the right clock.
Oh, I bet.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's always, traveling that'll do it to you, but it's worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially I think you mentioned you got to see family, Mark, when you were over there. So cool. So, you guys, let us know if you're new to the chat. We're Sean and Allison McManus. We go live just about every Saturday, right?
Just about every Saturday.
And we're excited to talk with you guys about gardening today.
Yep. So, we're going to talk about raised beds. We're starting a new series. This is going to be a garden project series on lives. And it might be every Saturday from this point forward, or it might skip a couple and we might come back to them later in the year. But we want to make a little bit of a garden project series as part of our lives because there's so many different projects that you can have in your garden. And today we're going to cover raised beds.
And why not? Because, just that excitement too, especially this time of year when we're all starting to itch to get out in our garden. Even though the weather's pretty cold still, but this is like the perfect time to start planning and thinking and idea generating.
Oh, right? Yeah. We're our minds are constantly going now. It's like we can add a bed here. We can add one over here. Let's do some SmartPots there. What about a horse trough over there? So
I'm so glad you mentioned SmartPots too, because there's so many different types of raised beds that you could add. If you, if you're maybe at all a little frustrated with your space and thinking, gosh, I can't really do the type of bed I want. There's like so many alternatives that you can add.
Yeah, if you're into if you're into or you have a small space to garden in, or you're into small space gardening, there's a lot of options for you, whether it's vertical gardening or just using some type of smaller type of container in that small space. You can do a lot of different things. And we actually just interviewed this last week on Instagram, Jen McGinnis, otherwise known as FrauZinnie, and she's got a new book coming out about bird-friendly gardening. Excuse me. But she's also has a book that was published in 2021 about micro-food gardening, so small space food gardening. And so it's a really cool book, a lot of really fun projects in there. We're actually going to use that this year and use that as part of our inspiration to get new beds up, add new plants to our garden, new spaces. So just wanted to mention that too.
I know. I'm so glad you brought that up because we were super inspired talking to her about all these ideas. And and you mentioned that was on Instagram earlier this past week on Wednesday. And we usually go live on Wednesdays over on Instagram and we're able to interview. We do our interviews over there and we love those. It's just so much fun.
Meet a whole bunch of new people, learn a lot of new amazing things, and it keeps us motivated and excited, especially about gardening.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So, good morning to Tracy. Tracy's here. Good morning,
Good morning, Tracy.
Tracy from Lacey. I love saying that.
I know.
It's so fun. But we hope you guys are doing really good. Should we just jump in?
Yep, let's do this. Yeah, and let us know in the chat too. If just jump into the conversation. Allison will be monitoring part of the chat. Just jump in there with anything you want to talk about for raised bed gardening.
Yeah, I love that. And while you're getting that loaded up, in our poll that we have up right now above the chat, 57% of you so far, there have been 7 votes, but it's growing. But over half of you now are thinking about adding new raised beds.
Awesome.
So that is really fun to hear.
That's really cool.
12% said, no, I have plenty. I'm good. Like, I've got what I need, so good to go. And then, 25% said, yes, can't wait.
Awesome.
So yay.
Awesome. Great. Good to hear.
Let's see.
Okay, so I'm going to shrink us. Should I shrink us down yet, or are we talking?
We can.
Stuff? Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do this. We're shrinking. We're shrinking. What a world. What a world.
Oh, is
that too small?
We are, you might need to move us to the left a little bit.
Oh, okay. Moving to the left.
Oh, BK, thanks for letting us know your name is Barb.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So Barb.
Barb is planning to use a 4x8 bed for annual and perennial flowers this year.
Awesome.
It sounds like it has been used for veggies over the last decade or so.
Oh, so switching it up. Okay.
That's super fun.
Really awesome. Yeah. Did she say like zinnias and stuff?
Not yet, but I was just thinking that too. Barb, let us know what you're growing, because we all get excited talking about flowers, as we all know.
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, let us know in the chat. And then Tracy mentioned she's going to try some vertical gardening and use recycled materials.
Awesome. Super cool. Tell us in the chat what materials you plan on using, if you know yet.
I know.
Is it pallets? Is it old containers? Is it recycled brick or concrete? Let us know. That'd be really fun.
It is fun. And it's just, there's so many things you can do with recycled materials. And just, I love that you guys inspire us so much when we all start talking in the chat and just thinking of kind of brainstorming ideas and whatnot, because I don't know, we have so many ideas rolling around in our head now for
yes, we do. Things
coming up, including maybe some beds. So
all right. So today we're getting into it. Keep those chats coming, guys. Keep that chat coming. It's really awesome. So garden project series, raised beds, like we were talking about. Okay, so today we're going to go over the benefits of having raised beds in your garden. We're going to look at different examples, and then we're going to look at and go through some design ideas and inspiration to just get everybody excited about raised bed gardening. So this is going to be really fun.
Oh, sorry. I apologize for the...
What's wrong?
My little OCD that's driving me crazy, the way those are all lined on the screen. Those are supposed to be in the...
Oh, don't worry about it. It's okay.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Looks great. She did a great job, everybody, didn't she? Yeah, I think she did. All right. So raised bed benefits. Let's start off with why raised beds are so awesome and great to have in your garden.
Yeah, and just right off the bat, as you could probably imagine, it's just you're creating even more growing space. Something that Sean and I did at our, if you've seen some of our older videos at our previous house and garden, we built, I should say, not we, well, I took pictures, but Sean built all these amazing raised beds and we put them in our driveway and utilized all the like sun areas we had. That was really such a fun way to create even more growing space.
Oh yeah, it was really fun. We totally redid that space. It was that gravel area you're talking about?
Yeah, the gravel.
Or the very front yard, because we did kind of both.
We did both.
We did them at different times, but...
that's something we'll talk about in a little bit here.
So we took a pitched... It was basically a part of our driveway. It was at a pitch heading down from the house, and it was all gravel. We literally re-graveled it, put some new pea gravel in there, and then what we did is we built raised beds in there to utilize that space, because it was just all gravel. Actually, it was covered before in ivy.
Yeah. Oh,
literally went out there and just dug up and just took up carpets of ivy.
It was a complete carpet. Yeah.
So we did that, and then before that, a couple of years before that, I think we did that right before COVID. We converted our front yard from all grass and beds into just complete gravel and terraced raised beds. It was awesome.
We have pictures we're going to show you in just a bit for that.
So for raised beds, you're creating new growing space. You're also specializing. You can also create specialized areas for different crops and flowers. You can have your your cut flowers over here. You can put some some cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers over here, especially if you have a west facing or southwest or southeast facing garden. Definitely lessens the weeds, because you're raising the beds up. If you have any kind of raised bed, your bed is literally elevated up from, the surrounding area where all the weeds usually are and where they spread. And of course, you can still get some weed seeds up into those beds from wind or critters or whatever, but it really lessens those weeds in those raised beds. Also, it minimizes pests, because now you've created those beds. The pests have to work harder especially if they're, on all four legs or whatever, they got to get up the side of the bed and into the bed. So that makes it harder for them to get in there. But also you can get better drainage in raised beds. Your plants can have more consistent drainage because you're using newer soil. It's not impacted by the soil around it where you might have drainage issues or pooling or flooding. And also when you raise those beds up, you're exposing not only the top of the bed, right? I mean, the top of the bed is always exposed. You're exposing the sides of the bed to the sun and the sun's rays and the heat and any of the warmer air around there. So when you raise those beds up, you're actually making it easier for those beds, the soil in those beds and the roots of the plants to have a warmer soil. So it really helps out, especially in the spring when you raise the beds up. That soil is warmer sooner than the surrounding ground soil in most times. So that makes it really fun too. And there's some other things in here, so some benefits that we listed here. But those are the main ones we wanted to talk to you about. Now, if you know of more benefits than what we've listed here for raised garden beds, put them in the chat. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on different benefits for raised beds.
Well, and I want to add into, it's on the list, but like depending on how tall you make your raised beds, because some of them can be like really tall, like elevated off, like standing level. It's really good for people that have any kind of back issues or just, I don't know. It's just fun to have kind of more of a upright growing space.
Oh yeah, it's easier access.
It's easier access, and it really keeps it away from like pets. That's a great option. So we had a raised bed, and we had to we had two very large raised beds in this one area in our old backyard, which you might have seen on video. But we had to put a big fence around it from our puppy because both of our dogs would get into it.
Yeah, the beds were raised up about 2 feet.
They love those.
And the puppy literally jumped right up into it. The 2 feet did not even phase her. She just jumped right up there, got in the soil, rutted around, barked at us and had a lot of fun and rolled around. Then she jumped back out and we're like, we're not going to be able to grow anything in that if she keeps doing that. So yeah, we had to fence it.
When there's a will, there's a way. She would have found a way in there. But if we could pause really quick, we've got a couple of really good questions in the chat.
Awesome.
Okay, Leanne Black. Leanne, thank you for joining us and for your question.
Thanks.
Really good question. Can a raised bed be near your home? We deal with clay soil, so the perennials reach a point where they die. So she's wondering if the bed can be up really close to your home.
It can be up close to it. In my opinion, I wouldn't put the bed attached. I wouldn't make it attached to your home. You want some separation, especially not having any type of soil or other material right up next to the siding of your house, because that'll help. It basically encourages rot on the side of your house. So keep the bed. You can keep the bed probably at least a foot, maybe 2 or 3 feet away if possible. And that's also because you need access to that side of the house. You don't want to block the side of the house, especially if there's any windows around or you got to replace siding or there's, you want to paint. I mean, having that separation really helps when you need to maintain your house, and especially as an asset. So if you can keep it away from the house, even like a foot, you'll be ahead of a lot of other people that unfortunately didn't do that.
I know. Plus, it gives more growing space for the flowers, and you can get behind them if you're facing it out toward like a street or anywhere else. So I mean, that's the fun part is like once you place it, it just increases your growing space. I'm going back to that. Like you can just grow so much more, and it makes it so much fun.
That was a really good question.
Well, you know what? I just realized the other ones were comments, but I want to get to these because this is fun. Yeah. So Budget Gardening Vita Loca mentioned that the wood around the raised bed she has is falling apart and needs to be rebuilt. And she's thinking of turning one big raised bed into 2 or 3 even smaller raised beds and experiment with square foot gardening.
Ooh, that's a fun idea.
I love that.
Neat. Yeah, square foot gardening, there's a lot to that, and especially for vegetable gardening. There's a couple different good books out there. One of them from our friend Kim Roman, who's what is her
square? Oh boy, I'm gonna say this wrong. It's like square_foot_gardening_for_you or something like that. Yeah. I'll see if I can find hers.
But she's awesome. Her name's Kim Roman, and she does square foot gardening. She's an expert for indoors and outdoors square foot gardening. So she's got a great book.
She actually worked and worked right alongside with Mel Bartholomew, I said that wrong, Bartholomew, who's like the foremost, expert in square foot gardening. I mean, his book is still going around. Cool. So she has pictures of herself with them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, Kim's great. She knows her stuff. So
she knows her stuff.
If you're looking for more information about square foot gardening, Kim Roman's your gal.
Let's see, you guys. I know. So Gwendolyn mentioned Gwendolyn's going to try out some galvanized steel raised beds this year. We're going to talk about those a little bit.
That sounds awesome. Cool.
Maybe growing an herb garden and might try some strawberries too. So that sounds really
fun.
Super inspiring.
Nice.
I'd love to make.
Great idea.
I think we might borrow that idea too. Have just an herb. Well, we have an elevated bed full of herbs, and that has been really fun to have everything kind of all together. And they have, most of them have been in there for like 4 years or 3 years.
Yeah, they grow really well together. They all have very similar growing needs. And so that makes it really fun. What do we have? We have coriander, cilantro, rosemary, thyme.
We have a really cool curry plant that smells
not coriander. Curry.
That's okay.
Curry,
that's what I was trying to think.
Yeah.
It smells like incredible. We have actually never like cooked with it or like used it in any way, but
not yet.
Not yet.
We will.
It just smells. If you like that curry smell, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see. BK, who now I know is Barb.
Hey, Barb.
Barb mentioned she might grow dahlias in one of her raised bed areas and then bleeding heart in another. So if you have like shade, that'd be perfect for bleeding heart. But yeah, I was mentioning in the chat, dahlias. It's so much fun to have just one bed devoted to like either one thing or maybe a couple things. It's just like...
Well, the raised beds we were telling you about right when we got going here on this live today, where we converted part of our driveway that was gravel over to raised beds, on a slope. And the raised beds, they started out here, then they were here, then they were here, going down the slope. Most of those were filled with dahlias.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Actually, we had the L bed. I remember we made those L beds, and then those were all filled with dahlias.
We definitely didn't have enough room for all of them.
No, but it worked. It still worked.
It was awesome.
It was a full sun location
that was so fun.
On the very west side of our house. And it got sun from like noon or even 11:30 or 11 in the morning in the summer all the way until like 6 or 7, maybe 9 o'clock at night.
It's perfect.
On those long days. Yeah, the dahlias loved it. So that sounds like a great idea, Barb.
I know. I love it.
Yeah.
There's so many great comments. I can't even get to all of them. Barb also mentioned her beds are made with retaining wall blocks. We did that one. We've done that too. She asks, will that keep the soil warmer and still have better drainage?
It'll keep so that's two different things, and that's a really good question. Really good. I'm glad you asked that, Barb. So it will keep the soil warmer because the pumice block or the block or cinder block, whatever it is, it retains heat, right? So even during the nighttime, especially in the later spring and throughout the summer and into the fall, any of that radiation from the sun that it picked up over the day, it's going to radiate back out into the soil, but also into around your garden. So that part of your garden is going to be a little bit warmer, and your plants are going to more than likely love it.
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking of our old yard.
Now the drainage is dependent not so much on the block retaining heat or anything, or the block itself, but it's more dependent on how you set up that raised bed, especially with the soil you use. Is it well-draining, sandy type of soil? Does it have some compost in it mixed in? Those are going to be things that are going to impact your drainage, but especially also when you're setting up even concrete blocks for a bed, you want to, before you even set that up, you want to make sure the soil down below that bed, the native soil you're putting the block onto, has some type of drainage, or you have drainage in mind for when you fill that whole bed up and you're growing in it with all that soil and water's draining. Where's it going? You want it to drain out. You don't want it to gush out of the bottom, right? But you want it to move slowly but consistently out of that bed. So it might be good to think about, especially if you have really compact soil underneath that bed, where you're going to put that bed in, before you start putting the bed in, maybe put some channels, dig out some channels right in the bed itself in the center, and put some rock in there in those channels, and then channel it out either in a straight line or diagonal, whatever you need to do to have that water still drain through that rock in that channel outside of that bed to somewhere else, because the last thing you want your bed to do is take in water and have it drain through the soil, because you got great garden soil in there, but get to the bottom and then sit there. You don't want it to sit there too long, because then after a while you're just going to have this backlog of water continuing to fill up in that bed. So, and it could come out the sides, or it could drain out the sides a little bit depending on how you put that bed together. But I know from our experience, what we did is we really broke up that soil down below, because it was really compacted before we started building and throwing in the soil in that bed. And then we thought about, okay, is there a pitch to the soil? Are we going to put gravel at the base, and then the water will just filter through the gravel underneath and out, so we don't have a waterlogged bed. So just some things to think about.
Lots. And Mark just added in the chat, it's really recommended, and we totally agree with this, to get lumber and materials that are pressure treated and water treated. Would you? Is that what we did now?
Yeah, you can do that. It's really easy. That's a really easy way to do it, and it works really well. You're right, Mark. The only thing is if pressure treated, sometimes those pressure treated pieces of wood, they might use, when they do pressure treated, some chemicals for the pressure treated wood. And if you're growing vegetables and you're not comfortable having chemically pressure treated wood, for your bed, and have your plants, exposed to that, or, over time, water, that leaches out of it can leach out of the wood. Maybe think about using maybe non-pressure treated wood, but something like a juniper or a cedar, something like that. What we used was, for a lot of our beds, and it doesn't last as long as like cedar or even juniper or pressure treated wood, but we used, it was a fir poplar mix hybrid. It's really cheap wood, actually. It's not that expensive. It's one of the cheaper woods you can get at like Home Depot and Lowe's.
This was during COVID. Was that during COVID? When supplies were very limited?
Yeah, it was one of the only ones available. We couldn't afford to get the juniper or the cedar, so we got what we got. It was great. It was easy to work with. It didn't split. It was solid pieces of 2x4 and 2x6 wood. But we went with that, and it'll still last probably 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years, depending on your climate. Like up here, it's so wet. That type of wood, we can get about 5 or 6 years of growth out of those beds before they literally start to rot. So some other things to think about. But yeah, I mean, if you're not worried about the pressure treated stuff in your garden, growing vegetables in there, totally easy to do. And that stuff lasts forever.
I know, and I love that you brought that up. We definitely had that in mind. Like, okay, and I think Mark even mentioned this too. They do take maintenance, especially wood beds. They're not going to just set them and forget them for like the next 20 years. They might. Some of you mentioned some of yours are maybe kind of falling apart or whatnot, and it's fun to think, okay, this is kind of a 5-year investment, and then I might have to redo them, possibly. Depending on the type of wood too, right?
Yeah, and even some of the cinder block or concrete that you use, it's definitely going to need some maintenance, especially in our climate, for like moss and mold and stuff. You might have to pressure wash it or treat it with something. Definitely brush it off every once in a while. Yeah. But yeah, and it's okay. It's all part of gardening.
That's so fun. I'm sure you guys, I think there were some other questions in here. You guys have a lot of really good comments. Here's one. Let's see. Can you guys talk about how to keep birds and squirrels out of raised beds? If you're trying to grow fruit and veggies in them, especially, I have a lot of wildlife in my backyard.
You know what? I'm laughing because we went through that, and I'm laughing because it's almost impossible to keep every one of them out of there, especially where we live. And we had upwards of like 10 or 12 squirrels at one time in our backyard, and they were into everything. They got into everything. They dug up all the bulbs. They ate the new growth on not only our like lettuce and different vegetables, but also our flowering plants, like the new growth. They would eat the flowers before they would open.
They ate them after they opened. Yeah, we had, so like Sean mentioned, we had a crazy, amazing backyard full of wildlife, some of which we attracted with bird seed and stuff, because I took pictures of them and whatnot. But deterrent wise, I mean, there's stuff on the market that claim to be, pest deterrent for this and that, and you can try that stuff. You can also kind of like plant an area of stuff that you don't care about and try to like try to like coerce them to go over to this area and eat all. It's kind of like sacrificial lettuce and plants.
Yeah.
Keep your other stuff in a separate area. It's not going to guarantee. There's a couple things you can do with bulbs, right? But
yeah, I mean, if you want to protect bulbs, you can put chicken wire around them or over them and kind of anchor it into the ground where you're planting them. We actually came up with something, a prototype for that, but we can't move forward with it. It's just too expensive but it's like a security plant or something to literally place them in the ground. Now there are products out there where you can get like a basket, and you can put chicken wire over it, and they sell these. I can't remember who sells them.
I think Gardener's Supply might have some.
There was somebody else online that, at least during COVID, because I was checking out who the competition was for our idea.
At that time.
But there's things out there that you can use for that. But yeah, a lot of people, they'll just take chicken wire and place it, put the bulbs in, place the chicken wire over them, anchor it in with some type of hooks or spikes or something, and then bury it, and then that helps keep the squirrels off. Most of them. But some of the squirrels, they get some leverage. They can just pull that stuff right up.
Oh, I watched a squirrel take a lid off of our birdseed and get inside the bucket.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. They will figure it out.
Oh, yeah. They'll chew right through thick plastic. I was just thinking that.
They ate through one of our bird feeders.
Yeah.
They were nuts.
So I need to interrupt you really quick. Sure. I thought I heard a beep out here in our house. And so do you mind if I go check on that really quick?
Here, we both.
Sorry, guys. Excuse me really quick. I mean, we hear beeps. We got to go look at them. Okay.
So here I am. Okay, so another thing, and Barb mentioned this in the chat. This is, I mean, kind of along the lines of the other idea we were thinking. You can sort of interplant, and this is again going back to the question: keeping squirrels and other pests out of raised beds or any of your beds. They will most likely get into things and experiment and eat things, and that's not fun. But you could try interplanting some of your crops with like Barb mentioned, mint or other plants in the mint family tend to repel a lot of pests. So you could do like a border of mint. Now, the thing with mint though, and Barb, you probably know this too, but mint will literally take over. So I would almost, I don't know. Usually we keep our mints in containers separate and kind of away. We love mint, but it literally will take over and kind of invade an entire area. So if you don't care about that, great, plant, a lot of mint, just let it spread around. Maybe plant all your other plants kind of in a row behind it or whatnot. But, there are other interplanting kind of tricks that a lot of gardeners have come up with over the years for.
I'm back.
We're good.
I'm back. Everything's good. Some stuff going on out front. It was a truck beeping, turning around and going. Okay. So okay,
nothing
I'm back.
That we need to worry about.
No.
Okay.
So I heard about mint. I heard mint.
Yeah, I was just mentioning. Barb mentioned like maybe planting mint to repel pests. So I was talking about that for a little bit. So.
Yeah, you know what? If you're gonna plant mint, real quick, put it in a container.
That's what I just.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely,
good. Okay.
We're on the same.
Contain it. It's like bamboo. Contain it. Don't let it spread. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. You know what? Let's why don't we get into some of our examples? We're going to go back into the slideshow and just start showing you some ideas. A lot of these we've actually, these came from either our current garden or our old garden. Some of these we've already been talking about. Mm-hmm. But let's see what we have.
So here, hold on. Did I get over enough? I did. Okay, good. Yay. Okay. Here we go, guys.
All right, you guys, let's see what we got.
Thank you, by the way, for all the comments and questions. That was super fun.
There's probably a few that we haven't got to yet. If we missed your question, can you put it back in the chat? Sometimes when a lot of stuff comes in, it's hard to find everything.
Well, yeah. So like we were talking about, wood beds.
Wood beds.
Hey, wood beds. So you can see we've got a couple of examples here. Mainly, especially that one right up top there, that is the area of the driveway where it was all gravel anyway, and then we updated it with these beds on a slope. And you can see what we did there. And that's that wood I was telling you about. Those are 2x6s, and that is the fir poplar hybrid mix that they sold in Home Depot.
Great.
And they were great. Yeah, they were already planed, smoothed out. All I had to do was just make my cuts and put everything together.
I know, and we sacrificed half of our driveway that was just gravel at that. I mean, we had like the pavement part, and then on the side it was all gravel. And we thought, you know what, we're not we don't have a lot of people coming over. Why don't we rather grow stuff here? And so what you don't see in that top right picture, there's another bed kind of above it. We had 5 beds in that area of different sizes. And you can see it's elevated at a slope there. So they all kind of, Sean did an amazing job. And in the picture on the left there, that was the, like from the street view looking up, you can't even see, like that's only like a couple of the dahlias.
It looks like it's fall because you can see around the beds there's the dogwood leaves.
I see that. Yeah.
You see the dogwood leaves, they've already fallen. So that was in the fall.
Well, and
you
everything
can see,
is still going, just rows and rows and layers of zinnias. And then all the dahlias were up towards the back, closer to the house.
Is that the zinnias right there in the front? That's the profusion bicolor,
yes.
red yellow
profusion. And right above it is another, that's Zahara starlight.
Yep. And
oh
so
my gosh,
the profusion bicolor, it's a spreader. It flows out. It doesn't go up beautiful. And those are zinnias. They don't go straight up. They flow out. They're spreaders. So if you're ever looking for a spreading zinnia, there you go. And it's not a Zinnia elegans species. It's a Zinnia marilandica. Right. So if you're ever looking for those, that's what you need to do.
You know what I love about that zinnia? We're going to be growing that from seed again this year. I'm so excited. We got some seeds sent from AAS winners.
Yeah.
But which this plant is an AAS winner, which means it's been tested and trialed all over the U.S. and it changes color, which I think we've talked about that before. I love flowers that change color. I just think that's so much fun. Like it starts, it blooms in that yellow that you see, that vibrant yellow with kind of the red ring in the center. And it fades to almost like a pinkish, reddish color.
Yeah.
You can see some of them kind of sprinkled in if you look close at that picture on the left there.
Yeah. If you guys if you guys want to know more about that, let us know. We'll try and get some posts out about that in the community area, maybe this next week, about the zinnias coming up, to grow those. And because we love that. I mean, it was beautiful.
Well, and it's a lower grower. Sorry, we could do a whole show on just zinnias. Maybe that's coming soon.
Yeah. Didn't we also, some of these we bought, but didn't some of these we also, we grew from seed?
Yeah, we grew. Yeah. That whole bed, I think, was from seed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had those zinnias sprinkled. If you look at the photo on the top right, we had beds of those zinnias kind of it was like our front, sorry, I can't talk. It's our front layer kind of in all of those beds.
It's okay. More tea, more coffee.
Goodness sakes. I know.
Caffeinate us, please.
We need caffeine.
So, go ahead.
But Tracy asked, did you level the ground before you installed the bed?
Now, on this particular example in our front yard, I couldn't really level the ground for the bed on that slope, and it gets tricky when you're building on slopes. What I did, and what a lot of people do, is you can build part of the bed into the slope a little bit. The higher part, it goes into the slope a little bit, and then you level the bed out. So you get your level out, you place your bed out there, and then you get on the sides of the bed, on the wood of the bed, and you place your level out there, and you see where that's level. Because what you want at the end of the day, especially on the slope, is a level bed, not so much to make the ground level underneath the bed. Because you can place the bed anywhere on that and then just get the bed level, and it doesn't mean that the whole area needs to be level. So that's a little trick. What I did for these two is I needed to anchor these in to the ground below the surface.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And what I did is I dug a hole at one of the corners of each of those beds you see there, on that slope in the gravel, and I put a pier block in there with I think is it a bracket?
Yeah, I had the bracket.
It had the bracket already in it. You can just buy them already assembled with, so it's the pier block, looks like a pyramid pier block, and then it's flat on the top with that bracket. And I dug down, I placed that in there, and then I secured that corner of the bed solidly to that pier block. And so nobody could come in if they wanted to, because we did have some theft in our neighborhood, our old neighborhood.
Yeah,
they couldn't just pick it up and go, because that's the last thing we wanted to do, because that could happen if you don't anchor them down.
Well,
so that was part of it. And then when I did that, I also did the leveling at the same time. So it was solid on that part of the ground. So if you're on a slope, you can dig into the higher part of the slope, place your bed there, and then the limiting factor for on a slope is the lower side of your your bed. You want that to match up with the slope, because you don't want a gap there underneath that where soil is going to just continually flow out. So that needs to match up. The lower part of the bed, the bottom, and on the lower part of the slope need to match up, and then bring in your bed, put it up in there. If the higher part of your bed needs to go into the slope, cut in and put it in there, then level your bed and you're good to go.
Yeah, I forgot about all that work that went into building on that slope. But I'm laughing. Who's going to like run up to the yard and run away with a raised bed? I mean, it makes me laugh.
You know what? We had planters.
We had
these nice containers, these
beautiful
glazed,
hanging
beautiful. Well, we had containers stolen from our front yard.
That was just,
and that was really up off the road. We're like 60, 70 feet up off the road. You got to come up onto the property, walk through, up a slope, walk up the driveway, grab stuff, and walk back down. Then they also stole
beautiful
fuchsia hanging baskets right in the front of the house underneath the gutter. They just literally came up, picked them up, and walked away. And so that's one of the reasons I anchored it down, because we'd had too much stuff. So
we were a little paranoid, and that's one of the reasons we moved.
But also, if you're worried about your beds moving at any point, people bumping into them, critters, dogs, whatever, you think they're going to move a little bit, even from a lawnmower, use that anchor or something similar like I did, and then that'll make it a lot sturdier.
Yeah, that's good.
In place.
Good call. Yeah.
So
wood beds are an option. I know this is fun to see all of these old pictures.
Yeah.
So what's next?
What is next? Moving on.
And thank you to those of you joining us. If you're just joining us, we're talking about raised beds. We're all getting each other excited about options and just possibilities.
Yes. Seeing those wood raised beds, I want to build them again.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I want to build them again. I love building beds. It's so much fun.
I think we should build some beds.
Yes.
And and there was a really good question earlier, and I forget who asked it, and I'm sorry, but asking about raised beds, should they be open at the bottom so the roots can like just splay into the, just like grow into the ground, or should it be closed up?
Good question.
I can't remember who asked that, but sorry, we haven't answered that yet, because that's a really good question.
So it depends on what you're growing, and if you want the roots to do that, it can be a good thing, but it can also pose a problem for later on when, like, let's say you put some type of tree in there, and it's going to grow a lot bigger than, say, that raised bed ever could be, and you want to contain it. If you don't put a bottom in or something to stop those roots from going down, it can literally grow to a point where it'll heave itself and the container that you're planting it in out of the ground. It'll move it with those roots, because it can heave itself out. So depending on what you're going to grow is going to depend on if you want to put a bottom to it, or if you want to put gravel down there, or any type of barrier, even like concrete pieces, solid pieces, to make sure that the roots do not penetrate further down. Also, depending on what you're growing in that container or raised bed, make sure to think about your placement, because if you have any utilities around where you're going to put that raised bed, you need to make sure the raised bed's not over those utilities at any point for access or repair, and that it's not too close that any roots of any plants that could get a little aggressive, like trees and some shrubs, get into those utilities and mess those up when they grow through them and then start to expand those roots, if they do that, depending on what plant species it is. So
that's always a good idea.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind, because I mean, we've run into a little bit of that in my old job in another life. I did a lot of that type of work of coming in where tree roots had gotten into certain things and it destroyed the utilities. So anyway.
And to kind of circling back really quick to the idea of an open bottomed raised bed, because there are a lot of companies like Vigo Garden, is that called?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they have some beds that you can buy that are just, kind of galvanized or whatnot, and they do have that open bottom, and you just move them around. I think if you're just planning on growing like annuals, and things like that, where the roots aren't going to really get that big, I think those would be fine.
Even carrots.
Oh yeah, with like a longer taproot.
Yeah, or potatoes. Open bottom's fine. Yeah, but if you have an aggressive plant, possibly like mint or even some type of tree or shrub, again, that's going to have a larger root system eventually, you're going to want to either contain it in that container, in that bed, or maybe not put it in there at all.
Yeah.
So
find a new place.
Just give it some thought about what you're going to place in that bed.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's go back.
Here we go. Good
There's
question.
So much to talk about.
I know.
We were excited to talk to you guys about raised beds, but we're like, I don't know. Is it going to be that exciting to talk about? And it's kind of like, we all have a lot of ideas.
Oh, yes. Okay. Awesome.
This word I can't ever say. Hugelkultur.
Good job.
Or Mounded. Did I say that right?
Hugelkultur. Yep. Known generally as Hugelkultur.
This was kind of a big deal a couple years ago. Everybody was kind of into this, right? Where you don't even have like a structure around it. You can build like a mound or it's basically a raised bed without the sides. And you just mound the dirt up and you just go from there. You can build it on top of pavement or even cardboard or whatever you want, and you have this layering thing going on, right? Of different.
Well, so there's two different things going on here too. You can just have a mounded bed on any of those situations, on any of those surfaces that Allison just mentioned, and it can just be straight up soil, composted soil, sand, whatever, and it's just a literal large mound on those surfaces. But there's also hugelkultur, which is definitely a layering of specific things to retain moisture, to build structure in the soil over time and break down, so it's a minimalist type of input into that bed after you make all these layers and get it all set up. It just needs water on regular cycles, but it can hold it's almost its own little ecosystem of composting and breaking things down, and then all those nutrients are still available in that system for plants to grow in.
Yeah, that's fun.
So yeah, and this is, you can see in the picture there, it's wood pieces, it's straw. Some people go all out and they're putting like different, microbial stuff in there. They're doing ash. You can do a lot of different things with this.
I know this was this was a big deal a couple years ago, and there was like a formula to it. Like the layers were specific things in a specific order. That's a little too complicated for us. We like to keep things kind of easy. I mean, it's fun to experiment. So don't get us wrong. Like, go try it if that's something that you've always wondered about. And there's people that talk about the great results from these type of beds, and they're fine. There's no problem. So. Give it a try if this is something that you're like, you know what, I don't really want to build anything. I just want to like start planting. Maybe look into this option.
Yep. Great option to have. I think we had something coming from Mark.
Let's see. There's a couple things.
Cool.
Let's
see. We're gonna pause here.
So going back a couple comments. BK Barb. Barb mentioned asked if we know of an easy way to build or plans that she could download a tall raised bed that, like a stand-up kind of elevated like raised bed like we mentioned earlier, which we have that on a slide to show you in a minute, at least a picture of it. But I don't, as far you just sort of drew it and did it.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
So like a
download maybe.
Oh, so like building plans?
Yeah, she's wondering it sounds like she wants one, and like where can she find that?
There's different. Cool. We got a thumbs up from Barb. Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, Barb. Yeah, there's a lot of different free options out there. You just literally have to go like Google it, and it can get a little overwhelming because some of them just give you the specs and the plans right away. Others want you to read through like a whole blog post or two before you even see what they're talking about. Also, you might have to sign up for some things. So it just depends on who you go to and all that. I think we did in the early days when we got started doing Spoken Garden, we actually made build a raised bed, and we had something
we did have a blog article.
On our blog article. I think it's still on there on SpokenGarden.com. If you go to SpokenGarden.com, check it out, BK. Yeah, right. So we actually, I think we did put some specs, some plans on there. So go to SpokenGarden.com
see if I can find
and then go to the search function on the top of the page, either on mobile or it's in the drop-down menu on mobile, or it's at the top of the page on the right, and it's just a search. Click on it and say raised beds or raised bed gardening, and Allison's doing it right now.
I'm totally finding it. I haven't looked at this article.
There should be something there about that. I can't remember specifically if there's plans that we put out, but they were super basic. It's really fun and easy. Literally get your length. If you would just want to think about it really quick, get the length of the bed you want and the space you want to put it in, and then get the width, and then go up at least 18 inches. If you want to go higher, that's cool. If you want to go lower, that's cool too, whatever your needs are for whatever you're growing. And then I think I spec'd it out. I've done this in the past a lot in my old job. But you just spec it out as using 2x6s because they're wider, and when you turn them up on their side, it's easier just to stack them on top of each other. And then, so I think it was, you know, they're 6 inches wide, so it was 3 tall on the 2x6s. When you stack them on their sides like this, and then in the corners, you just literally take like a 4x4 or even another 2x6, and you just place it up there, and you place the 2x6 this way on the side with your corner piece up, and then you just pre-drill the holes, and then put some wood screws in there, 2 per, and then just attach it to that, and just do that all the way up it, and then do the same thing on the other side, and you can just go around the whole thing. And it possibly might be a little intimidating to some people to put something like that together, but once you do it a couple times and you just do at least even the first level around the bed, you just look at it and you go like, this is easy, and then you just go and just go up, you know, each level, and then put your toppers on there, or your aesthetic pieces if you want to, on each corner, whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah, we've tried that, and then we've left them off before. Like
you didn't find it, did you?
I found one. It's not an elevated. It's just a regular. Here, I'll put this in the chat.
Well, a raised bed is an elevated bed.
Well, you know, like a tall stand-up one, though.
Is that what she was asking?
That's what she was asking.
Oh, about an elevated bed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Barb. So for the elevated beds, same concept. You need your bed, but then what you do is you have to have, you're going to need a bottom for it, and the easiest thing to do is either 3/4 inch or inch of thick plywood if you want to do that. So you just build your bed with that on the bottom of it, or you can take those 2x6s, and that's how I built our elevated beds. Is I did like I just described before, do the sides, but on the bottom you just take your 2x6s, instead of, you know, you're not having like this, you have them flat, and you just attach them to the bottom, and you can put them inside, so they're up. You cut them so they're up inside, so you don't see them on the bottom, and you attach them from the outside here, or you can have them long enough so they just come up to the bottom this way, and you just do 1, 2, 3, or whatever, however wide it is with those 2x6s, and you can then attach them this way with, again, those wood screws after you pre-drill the holes. So
it's always easier. Yeah, hopefully, I guess that's something we can try to come up with.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we need to make a YouTube video about building an elevated raised bed, because we want another one.
Or would either that, I like that idea, or you guys tell us, would you want us to do a live where we build an elevated bed or a wood bed with you guys here on a Saturday?
Interesting. I feel like a video.
Okay. Thanks, Barb. I know I get a little long-winded sometimes.
I know.
So
that's an interesting.
So thanks, Barb, for letting us know. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
I
think it'd be fun to do a live with that.
I think it'd be fun to show you guys like the raised beds we have in our current garden that we brought with us.
Yeah.
And maybe then make a video about how to build another elevated one. Maybe.
So, yeah, Barb. Yeah, what you just asked? What would you use to elevate it itself? You can use 4x4s as 4 posts around in the corners. You can make. You could use, again, the 2x6s if all you have is 2x6 pieces and you want to elevate it up using some of the extra scrap around you. You can use those and then build. So if you got a leg and a leg on the long part, you can do that and then throw a 2x4 or another 2x6 either from down below the bottom of the bed, down below, go straight across from that leg over to this leg. And so you can have a brace that way, and you can do braces around each side with one brace, or you can go diagonal from top to bottom, whatever you need to do. And those are 2 different options with the 4x4 or the 2x6. Legs, and that should give you a lot of strength.
That's so fun to think about. I love that.
Yeah.
If we could pause on that, there's a whole bunch of questions. Well, okay, wait. Can sunflowers grow in a sealed bottom raised bed? And the answer, and that was Leanne Black asked that. So again, can sunflowers grow in a raised bed? The answer is yes.
It's complicated.
It's complicated because they do need their space. If you've grown sunflowers, you know they kind of like, their roots get really big and they kind of want to be almost a foot apart from each other.
That's the general rule. Which is
so crazy for spacing. It seems like it's so far.
If you plant a seed here, make sure you're planting another seed at least a foot away from dead center on of this seed over to here. Sorry, I got to stay on the screen. So a foot apart at least, because those roots, they get sensitive.
They get really big too.
If their roots get impeded around them for any reason, within that foot around the whole plant, it can they'll grow they'll grow less tall. You know, they'll be shorter. They might be impacted with some growth issues. The flowers might not be as big. So that's what you got to worry about. Now the depth, I'm not sure about the depth. I think for most part they're more of a surface grower, but they're probably going to go down at least 6 to 8 inches.
Yeah, I was thinking either probably about a
yeah
1.5 to 2 foot bed maybe would be sufficient. Maybe
deep. Yeah, 1 foot deep at least, and at least probably 2 feet or 1 to 2 feet circumference. You know, length, width.
We had some sunflowers pop up as volunteers, most likely birds, because again, we had wildlife everywhere. And one was like a monster. Like I think we could have climbed it. It was so big. I mean, the stalk was huge.
Oh yeah, yeah. The base of this sunflower, I'm not even kidding you guys. It was this big. It was almost a foot in diameter.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was. I mean, the head of it was huge too. And guess who got to that one? They slowly started chewing off around the bottom of the base of the flower, and they felled the whole thing.
The head was this big.
It was so big.
So
that was the squirrels.
Squirrels.
Thanks for that one. Okay, so next, Mark asked, it sounds like regarding taproot plants, which do grow, like that might grow deeper than carrots. Would a 2 or 3 foot raised bed be sufficient?
For a taproot plant?
So like something that has a really long taproot, maybe longer than carrots. Something like baptisia or hollyhocks he mentioned. I think a 2 or 3 would be fine for either of those.
Yeah, that should work. I heard taproot and I immediately went to a tree for some reason. But okay, yeah. So, yeah, hollyhocks and stuff. Yeah, that should be good enough.
We're gonna grow some new hollyhocks this year too. So yeah, we gotta decide where we're gonna put those. But
make sure when you're doing that too to fill that bed with just the right soil that plant needs. I mean, maybe it goes without saying, but you know, if you use a more compacted, heavier soil that doesn't have a lot of airspace to it, that might impact the root growing down. So you want to make sure it's the optimal type of soil. So really well draining, lots of airspace, maybe more of a topsoil with some compost in it, because you don't want to impede the roots, right? So
good point.
Just yeah.
Okay. Somebody let's see, Franco asked, what's the best wood for raised beds? There's a lot of different types of woods. For us, it's always like what's available.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, I think ideally it would be cedar untreated, probably for ours.
Yeah.
Because I love the look of cedar. It's
cedar
like
or juniper.
Beautiful light wood color.
Yeah, I like the juniper because it's got a different texture to it.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it just has a different look to it. So, but it's fun. A lot of people do cedar, but I think the juniper is a good alternative to it. It might be a little bit more expensive than the cedar because it's not as available most of the time.
I know, that's a hard one. I don't think I've ever actually seen juniper.
Best wood to use for a raised bed kind of depends on who you talk to and what you got for your budget too. So yeah, for us, it really comes down to availability and how much do we want to spend, because you can almost make anything work. It just depends too, where around your house is it going to be on the property it's going to be, and you need it to look a certain way to fit a certain theme.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
Just some different things to think about, but great question.
Yeah, I love these. And so a lot of people are saying yes to either a live or even a regular video of an elevated bed.
Oh, cool. That'd be fun.
So that's on the list, you
awesome, guys. Thank you.
Oh, darn, we have to build another raised bed.
I know.
And
darn it, I get to use my power tools.
I know. He's been itching to... I've been catching him watching YouTube videos of people making things, and I know you're so excited to... I can't wait to see you get to work on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
He loves building things. He's so good at it. Okay, and then people are just commenting... I love multi-level raised beds. Cheryl from Maine said that. Hi, Cheryl.
Morning, Cheryl.
Thanks for joining us.
And morning, Marco?
Franco? Yes, Franco.
Morning, Franco. We didn't say morning.
And then
thanks for being here.
Beth mentioned, yes to a live build. Please include the cost.
Oh, okay.
I think I love the idea of a live, but I think, I think a regular video might be a little easier.
We could do a live and we just make all the pre-cuts. I'll just pre-cut everything.
That's
and
actually
then
a good call.
I can walk through. We can walk through on the pre-cuts just how we did it and some different things to go through to do that.
Okay.
And some of the equipment and tools to do that. But if everything's pre-cut, then we can just put it together and that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
I like it.
Tracy just mentioned that she bought some raised beds from Gardener's Supply, and they were just really easy to kind of, the corners just kind of slide together. So
awesome, Tracy.
We're scoping out on another note, we're scoping out some stuff at Gardener's Supply right now for some like LED growing lights and stuff like that. They have some pretty cool things there. So that's off topic, but let's get back to let's get where we are. I don't even think we're halfway through our ideas here.
We're not.
So let's
we're
see
not.
what else
So
we have.
Hugelkultur.
We might have talked about all of these already, but that's fun.
Okay, so moving on from Hugelkultur.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is fun. Somebody mentioned earlier too that I think it was Tracy actually, or maybe it was BK, but that they had some retaining wall.
Yeah, this is our front yard, by the way. Our old yard, our old house.
Miss her old front yard.
Yeah, we built all this.
So fun.
So look at all that, and that was all grass.
And it was ugly
at a
grass.
Pitch. It was
and
at
it
was at an angle.
Yeah, it was at an angle. There were like, well, you took a tree down too.
Yeah.
And that really opened up the sunlight. I mean, this whole yard was like shaded by this huge, sorry to say, kind of an ugly old gnarly tree. It wasn't really aesthetically doing anything.
It'd been neglected a little bit. It was actually, I think it was a Japanese maple.
Oh, that makes me sad actually.
But it was literally shading out the whole front yard. We had a front yard of grass / almost mainly moss.
And roots.
So
remember all those roots you had to like cut out, and I helped a little bit on that.
Oh yeah, no, it was a team effort.
It's fun to think. I'm sorry I couldn't find a before picture, but I just love the look of this garden. We spent so much time out here, and you can see on the top right there, those are some just kind of a side view of a few things that grew. Everything just exploded out there. Not only did we have like a gravel, you can see the gravel everywhere, but everything else was made of that stone, and we had this pretty kind of bluish, you can't really tell, but
they were pavers.
The pavers went along the top. And
we glued those together. So for the cinder block, I literally just used an adhesive and I just glued it all together. There's no mortar involved in this, so it had a lot of clean lines, and everything fit really snug together. And then the top stones, those are actually pavers, and it was like Allison said, it was a bluestone type of paver, hue. And they were readily available at Home Depot, and we used the tile cutter and all sorts of stuff for this. It was really fun.
That was.
I was going to mention.
If you watch any of our older videos about zinnias or, what else did we do? We did a lot of video filming in that front yard, so you'll see it.
Somebody before was asking about brick and rock retaining heat.
Yeah.
Once we installed this, to build off that question earlier from today, after installing this was the warmest area of our yard, hands down. It was at least 10 degrees warmer, and this is the front of our house. This is the west-facing side, direct west-facing side, and it was open after to the sun. It was open after about noon in the summer, the height of summer. The longest day it was about maybe 11:30, maybe 11. It actually started getting sun, and it just heated. It soaked up the sun, and all of our plants loved it out there. We grew out there not sweet potato vine, black-eyed Susan vine. That was a fun. There were different kinds of sunflowers. We had rosemary and lavender.
Everything just grew amazing.
Glads.
Well, Mark just mentioned he remembers this yard that we used to film in, and he was jealous of our lupins. Remember, all the lupins were in the ground.
They loved it. Yeah.
You know who else loved the lupins? We had tons of aphid problems for years in those lupins. And it was like multiple weird times of the year too.
But yeah, the lupins.
I love those. And I told Mark we took a bunch of those out of the ground and put them in containers. So we still have those. Those things are super hardy.
Yeah, so these are retaining walls. This is terraced. It's using cinder block and paving stones. And the circles there, those are just smaller cinder block. That's retaining wall stone, but they're a lot smaller. They're only about this big. They're not that big. And they've got that angle cut on the back, so you can do, different shapes and stuff with them. So we just made circles. And there was another one on the other side of that one further down. You can't see it. So anyway, there's a lot of different things you can do with stone and terracing and block and all sorts of stuff. And this was a really fun project.
I'm like looking at this going, gosh, I haven't really missed our old house except for all the garden space, but like I'm looking at this going, wow, I kind of miss it. It was such a fun, creative space. And the rock look and the stone, that's not for everybody. But it's fun to experiment. in different styles. And Tracy just mentioned she really wants her backyard to have like the stone and the pavers and the rock. And,
oh, that's going to be beautiful, Tracy.
and a cool side note, like this sounds really silly, but for those of you that kind of like, love the sensory experience of gardening, which probably we all do really in some way.
Level, yeah.
But the sound of walking on the gravel, it's just, there's something to it that it makes me happy. Isn't that silly? I don't know. I love that sound. It's just.
Oh, and by the way, this gravel area was so easy to maintain.
Oh,
weeds and, for weeds and anything, so easy to maintain.
Yeah, so anyway, let's see. So we would love to hear from you guys if you're moving forward with any of your plans to build kind of a stone or rock type situation. Oh, here's our elevated bed.
Yes. So I think, was Barb asking about this?
I think it was Barb. Yeah.
So Barb, to answer your question about elevating the beds and what to use for the legs, you can see in that left-hand large picture, when I put those together, those are just 4x4 posts. And I literally built with those 4x4 posts. I just started attaching 2x6s to the sides and the ends. That's literally how I did it. So they're super simple to make. This isn't too fancy or anything. But the bottom, like I was telling you before, the bottom on this is more 2x6s, and I just matched up the corners from the side to the bottom. I just matched those up so the soil didn't flow out of it, no big deal.
Oh, I love those. Those are some of my favorite things and we could not leave those at the old yard. Luckily they're movable, right? Yeah. They're pretty heavy. Sean and I have to kind of lug them around my mom's yard, but we have them all lined up. You guys will see soon we're starting to get back into our garden. We're going to start making videos again and we'll show you where we moved them. We have 4 of them and they're all just lined up against one of my mom's fence sections. And we're kind of like, gosh, what can we grow in them, right? This is this year, like usually we do some annuals and some things. We have one that's dedicated just to herbs. Right now, that picture is just a whole bunch of pots of lavender. Those were just set in there. So it's kind of deceiving, but yeah. And then you can see in the top right, there are a lot of companies that sell elevated beds. I'm not going to lie. They're not cheap. Crescent Garden has an amazing one. They call it the Nest Planter, and I believe it has their True Drop technology in it, which means it's a self-watering container.
Yep, it has a reservoir on the bottom to hold water that you fill up to a certain level, and it'll keep all your plants watered for anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, depending on what you have in there and where it's set around your garden.
We have a different type of container with their self-watering kind of technology, and it's amazing. This is not a cheap container, but if you're looking to, I don't know, if you want to invest, you'll have this thing for years.
Well, and they all have a different kind of look to them, but it's more of a formal look. So if you need that kind of look too for an elevated bed somewhere around your property, and these can go indoors too.
Oh, they could,
if need be. So just some things to think about and some of the needs you might have.
I know, and I'm sorry to say we don't have an affiliate kind of connection coupon code with Crescent Garden right now, but we're working on that.
Yeah,
we want to get that for you guys.
We did have one with them for a while, but it expired.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So anyway, those are some options. Barb said she took a picture of it. So,
oh, good, Barb.
Again, we'll get something organized here in this late winter, spring, if you guys can wait that long, if we can wait that long for a video of how to do one.
Yeah, that's on a nice, not raining day. We could just be out there and put it together out in the garden. We'll do a live right out in the garden. That'd be fun.
That sounds so fun. Let's see, Mark, you're making me excited. You just listing a whole bunch of plants: zinnias, gazanias, daylilies, hearts and flowers. What's hearts and flowers? I'm not familiar with that. Portulaca, ice plant.
Ice plants.
Oh, I love ice plants. Sedums, etc., to name a few, but would love that extra heat. So neat and tidy. And you can grow all of those in your Texas garden.
Mark, I love that plant list, man.
Oh my gosh.
We're like simpatico on that. Totally just same wavelength.
And I know. And he was mentioning the Nest Planter. He would need like 40 of them. Good thing they do sell in bulk, but they are not cheap.
Yeah, they are not cheap. But they're worth the money because they're built really well out of really good resin, and you get your money's worth. That's for sure.
Wow, they're pretty cool. Somebody meant, let's see, Jujubee2407. Thanks for joining us. Hi there. If you're really strapped for cost, which who isn't these days, right? A Rubbermaid 20-gallon tote on an old resin chair makes a great inexpensive raised bed if looks don't really matter to you.
That's a great idea.
Creative and
that's DIY all the way.
Total upcycling.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
Great idea.
Oh, Aptinia. Oh, I've heard of that, Mark, but I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
I'm going to write that on my list that I've been keeping.
I'm not familiar with it either. So
I always get ideas from you guys, and I've got my little idea list here.
Awesome.
I'm going to look that one up. So really, but Jujubee, thank you for sharing that, because, you know, it gives people ideas of things. Maybe you have even just, we've grown things in baskets before. I mean, you can upcycle so many things. It might not last for multiple seasons, but be creative. I love that idea of just like an old, you can go thrifting and find some old cool things and turn them into raised beds in your yard.
Oh yeah, almost anything will work.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, what else would we good old
SmartPots. You might have heard us talk about these.
I know, we love our SmartPots.
So SmartPots is a company, USA made, USA owned, USA run, operated. Fabric bags. These are literally fabric bags that they make themselves in the good old US of A. And they ship all over the place, so don't have to worry about shipping. They have many different sizes for their gallon bags. And they actually have raised beds that are 6 foot, 8 foot, and 12 foot lengths. And if you go to smartpots.com, you can find all of those on there when you hit the shop button, and then it'll list out the different kinds of SmartPots. These are fun, especially for if you have a changing or you need an adaptive garden where you're constantly moving things around for shade or sun or accessibility or whatever. These are great for that. At least the bags are, because they have handles. Now, the raised beds that have that length, they're not too easy to move, but they are more temporary than they are permanent, right? It's not like building a concrete or block or wood bed. These, at the end of the season or whenever you empty them out, they literally just fold right up, and then you can just store them or move them to a new location. So these are really fun. The big picture right there, that's from this past year. We had tomatoes, we had
too much
basil,
in there.
we had peppers, we had a pumpkin.
We had some amazing stuff. You said basil.
Yeah, there's basil, yeah.
And see, I want to take that raised bed and I want to put all zinnias in it this year, I think. Or intermix. I think we'll do lettuce and zinnias and some different things together.
Or just all zinnias.
We actually have, okay, so real quick, I put our SmartPots coupon code. That is one we actually work with. And cool. we hate being salesy or whatnot with any of our stuff, but we do a lot of, I don't know, if we have an ability to give you guys some savings, we're going to pass it on to you at no cost to, like, if you're already shopping there, throw Spoken Garden in the coupon code at checkout and you'll get 10% off your whole order. It's like your entire order too.
Yep. Yeah, well, there's, we work with these companies and there's got to be a benefit,
I mean, we do they do send us a lot of free products, so we're not going to lie about that, but we don't work with we don't work with companies that we don't like, if that makes sense. We try to check things out for you guys and see what works in different situations around the garden and whatnot. Yeah. This SmartPots this is good stuff.
Yeah, great company, a great product, and you guys might not know this, but like Allison said, we won't work with companies we don't like. So we vet them ourselves for us, and we figure if we like them, then we can put them out there for you guys too. So
we're not going to do that if we don't like the company.
No, and we run into a couple that we don't like.
And we don't work with them anymore. But SmartPots, good stuff. We now have the 6 foot bed and the 3 foot bed that have recently been sent to us that we're going to try out to show you guys for just some different growing situations.
Yes.
We also might be giving a few SmartPots away soon, so stay tuned. Maybe our next live.
We got to figure that out. Yeah.
We're working on that.
They're 1 gallons. They're tiny, teeny, tiny.
So cute.
Yeah. So.
Let's see, a couple things in the.
So some really fun
Barb said, super excited to use SmartPots this year. You're gonna love them, Barb. You guys might already know the top right picture there, the 7 gallon bags. Since we moved 2 years ago, gosh, it's been 2 years already. We've grown all of our dahlias in nothing but SmartPots because we needed something temporary that was movable, and they have thrived. So you will love them. Jujubee said, love my SmartPots. I keep my 3 gallons in a small 6-inch hard plastic kiddie pool. Oh, so you can kind of keep them all together.
That's a good idea.
And water 2 inches, wait for the water to completely dry up between watering to keep mosquitoes away. Semi-automatic watering.
Awesome.
Great idea. Look at you with all these awesome ideas.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great idea. Yeah, that
love
bottom, that watering from the bottom and up. Yeah, that wicking of the water. Yeah, that's great.
We always love
great idea.
Watering idea. That might be a great idea for when we're out of town.
Do we still have the doggy pool? The kiddie pool? I don't know if we have that still.
I think we
Is it still there? Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. Okay.
Question from Daughter of God CM 2020. In your elevated raised beds, do you put the soil directly on the wood? Good question, because people might, you're not sure. Do you need a barrier between the wood and the soil? We don't do that.
Yeah, we don't do that.
We just threw it right in.
If you're worried, a couple things. If you're worried about the soil wood contact lessening the longevity of your wood, depending on what you use, yeah, you can use like a landscape fabric and just staple it. So here's your wood side of your bed. Take your landscape fabric, put it up to there, staple it on there, or nail it even if you need to, and then just roll it out to the other side, or roll it from the long ways all the way lengthwise up to the other side. Staple it on there and make sure it fits down in there into all the nook and crannies. And then, yeah, fill it up. Also, if you have a bed that has, wood or even rock or anything, and there's gaps between the different pieces of wood or rock or concrete, there's gaps in there where you think some of the soil is going to want to wash out over time. That's a good reason to use that landscape fabric too. Just get that line in there, and you can do that too. What we've done in the past, also, especially in the backyard, the old beds, those 2 raised beds in the backyard, when we placed those down there, we had gravel. We put gravel down in the bottom for the drainage to make sure that the water did drain, and it drained out the bottom, but it was solid gravel, pea gravel, I believe, down on the bottom. And then we lined that bed with landscape fabric to have a barrier between the rock and the soil. So eventually, because we didn't want the rock to eventually come to the surface, because eventually it would. The smaller particles filter down, the larger particles come up. It's just kind of how, soil particles work. So because of gravity and water. So anyway, so we did it for that reason too.
Yeah, good call.
So, but good question.
Jujubee wanted to add, be aware regarding the pool idea where you have like a kiddie pool and you put your SmartPots in it and fill about 2 inches of water up. Be careful when it rains. Just, note to everybody that wants to try that, make sure that you don't drown your plants. Jujubee mentioned they run out and just like dump the pool out really quick, put everything back in, or maybe move it.
It just made me think on it. If that pool's always going to be used for that, you just pop a hole at a certain level, about the 2 inches or something.
Yeah,
just
there
pop
you go.
A couple holes maybe around it so it only reaches a certain level and then it just drains out.
Yeah, maybe that would work for you, Jujubee.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't have to run outside in a rainstorm.
Yeah. But still though, you're right, Jujubee. You got to watch out for that. Yeah, you don't want your plants sitting in just a pool of water.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
That would be bad. Daughter of God CM 2020 mentioned that they're using grow bags and trying to figure out how to easily move them because they're trying to chase the sun around their property.
Oh yeah, we do that too.
Oh, that's Cheryl. Her name's Cheryl.
Oh, hi Cheryl.
What else do we have? I can't remember, actually.
We have more here, but all great points, you guys.
I know, these are
all
so
great
fun,
points.
you guys.
So Premade Beds.
Oh, Premade Beds.
Premade Beds.
A lot of you have already been mentioning the different Birdie's garden beds, or Gardener's Supply, I think, carries those. And there's the Epic Gardening. He's got the Birdie's beds. In fact, that's where I got that picture in the middle there. And I said, let's give him some credit. Shop Epic Gardening. Totally. That's where that came from.
You can see I'm in one of those pictures, and then we have the other one. Those beds, those are just horse troughs that we picked up at Home Depot. Fairly inexpensive. But it's that steel horse trough bed. We took a drill and put holes in the bottom for drainage to make sure that they just literally didn't fill up with water, that the water does drain out. So I think in the one I'm in, I think I put at least 6 in a grid pattern. Holes, and I think I used either a 1/2 inch drill bit or an inch size drill bit for each one of those holes. So make sure if you have these containers and they have a bottom and they don't have holes in them yet, put holes in them.
I actually kind of love the look of galvanized steel, and I kind of want to get some more of those. And if you get to Home Depot at the right time, they have them on sale, which is when we caught these.
Thank goodness.
And we got were ours about 1 foot, 2 feet? Can you tell? Because we have it in the ground, buried in a little bit.
A little bit. I think those are about 1 foot to 18 inches, so 1.5 feet maybe. They could be 2 feet too. It's hard to, I can't remember.
But we've got all of our glads right now. Well, no, that's not true. We have glads other places.
There's the glads and the irises.
We had the glads and the irises, which we kind of need to clean that bed up right now. We just saw that yesterday.
We have to rehome some glads because they've multiplied so much.
Which, darn, too many glads, right, Mark? Mark, We know you hate glads. And then we have a whole bunch of water-wise plants that we planted from High Country Gardens in the bed that you're standing near right now, right after we planted them. So those beds are really fun. My original point at Home Depot, they have really tall ones that were like, gosh, probably almost 4 or 5 feet tall, if I remember right. Remember those tall ones? So I thought that would look neat if you ever had an area where you wanted a tall bed in the back and a shorter bed in front. You could kind of like
kind of terrace them
a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And that's still an option
for High Country Gardens too. In that picture on the left, it was agastache, it was sage, there was catnip, catmint, catmint.
Yeah, the catmint.
Cat's pajamas.
No, that's Proven Winners. This was.
Oh, sorry.
It might have been pretty close to the same plant, but
sorry, guys.
Different brand. Gosh, anyway, what's the other one that grows amazing in there? Is Coreopsis.
Well, and that was sage too. There's sage in there. I don't know if I said sage. Though. I think we put all of those in there. Yeah, the Coreopsis is in there too.
Well,
so anyway, so if you're wondering what was in there, and they're water-wise plants that do well under drought conditions, those are the plants. So anyway, okay.
I know. Okay, so, lots of awesome comments in here, you guys. Oh, okay. So, well, if there hasn't been enough inspo talk in the chat, and
you guys have been rocking it. This
has been so
awesome.
fun.
There's so many great ideas, you guys.
I know. Well, and another, Beth mentioned that Beth sets grow bags on top of stacked pallets to elevate them and keep the wild bunnies out.
Great idea.
So much cheaper than wood raised beds, and I'm adding a wooden bed each year while still enjoying raised gardening. That's a great idea. Just like one new one every year, just kind of building your collection.
It's a good way to do it.
And those pallets can go so far. As most of you know, that was a big, all the rage, I think, during COVID, right? Or maybe right before. Everybody was doing everything out of pallets, pallet gardening, building furniture.
Yeah.
So those are fun because you can find those pretty cheap
or for free.
Or free if you get deliveries from Home Depot or Lowe's or somewhere. They always come mostly on pallets.
They leave the pallets.
Yeah. So we had like this pile of pallets at one point, and you can make raised beds out of those. They might not last very long, right? A couple years maybe. But anyway, that's fun. Great idea, Beth.
So yeah, you can see here just the raised bed inspo here. There's a lot of different ways to put together the wood raised beds and even the brick or concrete beds. You can see in the picture on the lower left, there's those brick beds. Look further into the picture. There's a ground bed. It looks like right there, and it's a ground bed at ground level, but they framed it. It looks like with concrete and pavers.
I like that look. I think
that's a nice look.
I think that's really cute. I like the brick too. That's a different style of raised bed.
Very formal. Looks very nice.
What else do we have? So it's kind of a wood and kind of a galvanized steel, little kind of industrial looking almost bed.
A kit.
Top left. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I like the one in the right corner, upper right corner with that terrace look. Those steps. Beautiful.
Looks like, is that strawberries? I thought that was strawberries in there.
Yeah, actually, it looks like strawberries. Yeah, those are fun.
Those are fun. I like using all that space and how they presented that. And then just a lower, I think that's maybe even just like what, a 6-inch or 8-inch tall raised bed on the bottom there. So there's so many just options and just ideas.
Yep, and it not only fits the what your needs are and the plant's needs are, but what look you want, right? So there's a lot of different ways to make just check all those boxes.
That's so true.
So
we have one more.
We got one more.
I can't remember. Oh, look, this is the same house, it looks like, but they have tulips.
Oh yeah, in that ground bed.
I didn't realize that when I found that picture.
Beautiful.
That's so cute. What a great use of space.
Yeah. Well, and somebody uses a raised bed also. It's what is that, old whiskey barrel?
Which those are fun. I mean, it's more of a container, I guess, but I mean, it's intermingling
it's wood.
Raised beds and
raised up off the ground.
Yeah, that's fun.
Wow, a lot of fun. So cool.
I know, Mark. Really I know it is a very metropolitan look. Those brick.
Oh,
kind of, and being able to. Yeah, those are cool. I like those. It's very farm. I don't know. Farm looking.
So and that's pretty much it of all the slides that we have, you guys. So
cool.
But we hope that was fun. We hope that was helpful. Thank you for giving us all the ideas and all the talk and questions. That was fun.
I know you guys had some really fun ideas, and I love I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the handle that we were talking with you. Jujubee. who had a lot of really fun, just DIY kind of quick ideas. Jujubee mentioned that they move every 3 years and they need temporary kind of cute things, but you know, being able to garden still and having, you know, I don't know, finding things around your home that you don't, if you don't really mind the look of something, you just want to grow something. Just there's so many options.
Yeah, there can be totally. It's almost, you know, sky's the limit. You're only limited by your imagination.
It's so true,
and
you guys. Fun. We are so excited for you to just keep like thinking about this, and maybe some of you already know exactly what you want to do, but I mean, according to our poll, there's still almost 60% of you are thinking about raised beds. So you're thinking, you know, is the thinking like, you know, you're going to make them, but you're not sure what you want them to look like yet, or you're just wondering if you even want one.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many. There are a lot of fun things you can do with raised beds. So
and it could be just, you know, are you thinking about, do I need a raised bed? Do I not? For a certain growing area or spot in your garden, or are you looking for a new look that would incorporate a raised bed? Or, you know, does the raised bed also need to have a sitting area where you can sit on the side of it to just rest or enjoy or garden in that bed? I mean, yeah.
I know.
It's fun.
It's really fun to think about. I know a lot of you are like, I can't wait for spring. I'm so excited.
We are too.
So, and Mark, we agree. We love whiskey barrels. We have a couple of them. We have beer barrels, actually.
They were beer barrels. That's right.
You cut them.
I cut them. He got them for us. So thank you, Brady, if you're ever watching.
He rolled this huge barrel over to us because he used to work at a brewery. And
yep, I got to cut it in half.
That was
literally
that was cool.
Never touched besides just being used for beer barrel, and I got to use my circular saw and just literally draw a line on it as straight as I could, and then just turn. I took the circular saw and put it on the surface, and I turned as I cut, I turned the barrel this way. It was fun. I'd never done that before.
That was. What are we gonna? We're gonna have to plan what we're gonna grow in those this year. We've kind of had some ongoing perennials that we haven't moved. They've lived there for a few years. They're doing pretty well.
And we got to see which ones actually made it.
Yeah, we need to.
Through this winter and this cold snap that we got, because we got a cold snap about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and then it moved across the United States, or it moved inland, and so. It was pretty nasty. So
we've got some garden assessing to do coming up soon. Yeah. We'll show you that. Which plants, like you said, made it, which bulbs made it. Yeah. So we'll get to that.
It's going to be fun.
It will. But you guys, thank you so much for staying with us for almost an hour and a half.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. This has been so fun. Thank you for all your ideas, all your comments, all your questions. You guys make this a lot of fun for us,
really
and hopefully for each other.
I hope so. I love seeing all your comments to each other in the chat. And like Mark mentioned, he used to work at Home Depot, and Barb said, I worked at Lowe's. So it's everybody's like, that's fun.
So you guys, you got that DIY spirit. You guys know. Yeah, totally.
So, and Ann Moy, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we hope, that you got some good ideas and some takeaways. So stay tuned. We have so many ideas for upcoming lives. I think we're going to do, I'm thinking vertical gardening will be one coming up soon.
Oh, that'd be
That's on our mind. And I think somebody else mentioned vertical gardening too.
Yeah. If you guys had any ideas for these garden projects, this garden project series of lives that we're going to start doing here, we're starting off with this, on this episode. If you have any garden project ideas that you'd like us to tackle and talk about on the live, send us an email, tell us in the comment areas or in the chat. Let us know. We want to know what you want to see, and we want to make this more interactive, and hopefully you get as much out of this as you can. So let us know your ideas on garden projects for this series. Right now it's wide open. We really don't have, we haven't really put any barriers or any type of parameters to it yet. So it's wide open. So let us know what you guys think. Let us know any projects you'd like us to talk about.
I know. I love that. But for now, have a great weekend, you guys. Hopefully you were able to get out in your garden, or at least do some garden dreaming inside. And we'll see you next Saturday. Oh, and for those of you that are local, and meaning like in the Tacoma, Seattle area here, don't forget, we'll be at the Tacoma Home and Garden Show this coming Thursday and Friday. And we would love to say hi and meet you in person. So I think
say hi.
Tracy maybe mentioned she might be coming on Friday. So just come and hang out and see. I think all day Thursday at the Tacoma Home and Garden Show is like free admission. I think the whole day for everybody.
Okay.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Thank you everybody for being here. We'll see you next Saturday, if not sooner, in some videos coming up. Have a great day. And see you later.
Yay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.